Hello, and welcome to the fourth of a four-part video series on our proposed revisions to ISO 240, our auditing standard that deals with the auditor's responsibilities related to fraud. I'm Jasper van den Hout, and I'm a director at the IAASB. I'm also part of the team that is working on the fraud project. This video will give you more details on the proposed changes to enhance transparency in the auditor's report about fraud-related matters. So why are we proposing changes to the auditor's report? The changes are made to address one of our key public interest objectives for this project. The objective is enhancing transparency on fraud-related procedures where appropriate, including strengthening communications with those charged with governance and the reporting requirements in ISO 240 and other relevant ISAs. In this video, we will only focus on the proposed changes made to enhance transparency in the auditor's report. For transparency in the auditor's report, it starts with the publication of our discussion paper on fraud and going concern in September 2020. The discussion paper explored, among other matters, how the auditor's report could be enhanced by being more transparent about the auditor's approach to fraud. Respondents to the discussion paper had mixed views. Some wanted more transparency, others not. Given the mixed views on this topic, the IAASB looked for an appropriate way forward that balances the different views. We were particularly interested in the perspective of users of the financial statements and therefore decided to conduct extensive outreach with this stakeholder group. The responses to the discussion paper, the outreach with users of the financial statements, and discussions at the IAASB formed the basis for our proposals to enhance transparency in the auditor's report related to fraud. To respond to what we heard, the IAASB is proposing to enhance the description of the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in the auditor's report, and to emphasize the importance of communicating key audit matters related to fraud. Let's start with the proposals to enhance the description of the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in the auditor's report. The IAASB was careful in not making too many changes in the auditor's responsibilities section in the auditor's report, as these changes would make the auditor's report longer and add more boilerplate language. Having said that, the IAASB was of the view that the description of the auditor's responsibilities related to fraud could be enhanced by including that the auditor communicates with those charged with governance about identified fraud, suspected fraud, and other fraud-related matters that are relevant to the responsibilities of those charged with governance. In the next slide, we will dive deeper into the proposed changes to emphasize the importance of communicating key audit matters related to fraud. Auditors have always been allowed to communicate key audit matters related to fraud under ISO 701. However, in practice, this did not happen often. To respond to what we've heard, the IAASB decided to emphasize the importance of communicating key audit matters related to fraud by adding a fraud lens to the filtering mechanism in ISO 701. This fraud lens is included in proposed ISO 240 revised and includes the following fraud-specific considerations in determining key audit matters. 1. Identified and assessed risk of material misstatement due to fraud. 2. The identification of fraud or suspected fraud. And 3. The identification of significant deficiencies in internal control that are relevant to the prevention and detection of fraud. To drive auditors to communicate key audit matters related to fraud, the IAASB also added application material. There are two more things I would like to highlight with respect to our proposals to enhance transparency in the auditor's report. Firstly, about the location of key audit matters related to fraud in the auditor's report. The IAASB decided that key audit matters relating to fraud should be included in the key audit matters section of the auditor's report, and therefore proposes to change the name of that section from Key Audit Matters to Key Audit Matters including matters related to fraud. To distinguish the key audit matters related to fraud from other key audit matters, Proposed ISO 240 revised requires the header of a key audit matter to clearly signal that the matter relates to fraud. Secondly, the IAASB added application material to discourage the auditor from using boilerplate language. Auditors are encouraged to include entity-specific information and to relate key audit matters relating to fraud to specific circumstances of the entity. Now that we have provided you with a more detailed overview of the changes proposed to enhance transparency in the auditor's report as it relates to fraud, we are interested in your views. Please share your views before June 5 using the response template available on the IAASB's website. On our website, you can also find further information as well as 3 more videos. We have videos related to the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud, another video on the auditor's response when fraud or suspected fraud is identified, and a video providing an overview of the key changes proposed. Thank you for watching this video.